leader Kevin McCarthy is here. So when Chad does that report and he runs that math and he talks about Hakeem Jeffries becoming the Speaker of the House, what's going on? Are you getting butterflies over there?
No, we will get there. Look, we had our primary where Andy Biggs ran against me just a couple weeks ago, and we won 85% of the vote. I think what's happening right now is negotiations, that people want to see certain changes, and we're working through that. And we'll get there. I mean, think for one moment, especially from a Republican Party. In the last 2 cycles, the Senate has lost seats, the governors have lost seats, the president lost seats. The only entity to win has been the House. Our goal was to stop Biden's agenda, win the majority, and fire Nancy Pelosi. We did all 3 of those. We have to come together as one because it's a small majority. It's the same size majority that Democrats have. But if we can't come together on that opening day, no investigations, no subpoenas, no repealing 87,000 IRS agents, no becoming energy independent, no securing the border. I think that's more important than sitting and squabbling with one another. We need to find a way to govern together. Otherwise, the American people will not give us the majority.
So you hear Chad talking about 20 people potentially, and there's 5 names that are out there already who say that they won't vote for you. And then they say that there's an extended list that is bigger than that, who also won't do that. You could get 20 people who vote present, and that knocks the number lower. That creates a majority. Ro Khanna came out and said he's willing to vote for a Republican. He's looking for a unity candidate.
The question would be there, what concessions would that Republican make with the Democrats to get their votes? No subpoenas are signed off on by the Speaker. So think about, would there be any investigations? Well, that answer would probably be no. So I think it's important that Republicans find a way to come together. How are we going to be able to govern together and move forward? I know this is a lot of intrigue, and I know this is the same thing that happened last time we picked a speaker when the Democrats picked a speaker. We're just going through it, but I think at the end of the day, we'll find a way all to come together.
You know, you talk about the things that could be promised. Maybe they say, you know, we're not going to impeach Mayorkas. Maybe they say we're not going to do Biden investigations. There's even some people throwing out names like Liz Cheney and Fred Upton as potential Speaker of the Houses as unity candidates. And I would remind everybody at home, you don't have to be a sitting member of the House of Representatives to be the Speaker.
Well, the interesting part, in any state legislature, this has happened before. When there's been tight majorities and when the majority party doesn't come together as one, there's no telling what can happen. And in those situations, you're not able to govern very well because you're making concessions to the Democrats. And in the essence, the Democrats would win on that. We don't want that to happen. The American people have just spoken. They want to have a border that's secure. They want to have an economy that's strong. They want to lower their gas prices, become energy independent. They want to make sure parents have a Parents' Bill of Rights, but they also want to hold their government accountable. None of that is capable. And if we can't find a way to find Speaker, nothing else happens. Members aren't sworn in. Government is not moving. I would think that with the responsibility that the American public has just entrusted to us, that we would find a way to get there long before January 3rd happens.
So, you know, you're having discussions with these 5 members?
I'm having discussions with a lot of members. You have
with
members
these 5 people, are they open to coming over to your side?
I think a number of them are requesting certain things, and we're discussing. But the one thing most people have to understand, if one person wants something, you have to have 218 within a conference come together. So everybody has to find a way to work together to actually move this agenda to make America stronger. And that's what we're going to do.
All right. Well, I mean, everybody's going to be watching very closely. There's a lot of inside baseball. And as you say, this does always happen, or it often happens. But it's tricky because of the small margin. You were hoping for a big fat margin so you wouldn't have to worry about some of this, right?
But remember this. This is the same margin the Democrats had. And what's interesting is, right behind us, they don't hand gavels out in small, medium, and large. You just get the exact same gavel with the same power. But if you give that power up, the power of subpoena, the power of accountability, that's not what the American people want. They wanted to be able to have a check and balance. And that's why if the Republicans won the majority, the Republicans should select who that nominee is. We had that debate. We had a primary. I won 85% of the conference. I think people need to come together, find a way to govern together. That's what the American public wants.
All right, I want to get your thoughts on a couple of big stories today. Brittany Griner coming home. Victor Bout is also going home to
Victor
Russia.
Bout, also known as the Merchant of Death. This is a big win for Putin. by far. The merchant of death, when he was able to be caught, this is a man that went around trying to kill American soldiers. This is a man who sells weapons. We're now having a war in Ukraine that Biden is concerned about. Even his own DOD is concerned this man will be back on the field, back selling those weapons, back engaging in what he was doing around the world. Think about the exchange here. The merchant of death for a WNBA star who was picked up for marijuana. What a victory for Putin. But what else it does, it makes every American who is overseas vulnerable. Why? Because they can pick you up on a trumped-up charge to get somebody they want out. This is what's wrong. This is a sign of weakness. It goes back to what Secretary of Defense Gates said, that every decision that President Biden has made in his 40 years when it comes to foreign policy has been wrong. And this is wrong. He left a Marine behind. Think about it. It's not an equal exchange. I'm glad an American's coming home. She was arrested for a trumped-up charge. But to exchange the merchant of death for this, it's made us weaker, it's made Putin stronger, and it's made Americans more vulnerable.
You know, speaking of weakness and foreign policy, President Xi of China is meeting with the leader of Saudi Arabia, or the person who is mostly in charge of everything, MBS there. And there's a lot of discussion about arms deals between the two, 5G and 6G deals between the two countries. It certainly appears that Saudi Arabia is turning their focus to China and away from the United States right now.
Well, you know who else helped this deal? Saudi Arabia. And President Biden had to change his public opinion with Saudi Arabia to get this deal done. So how much did he really give up? And was this part of the deal to try to make Saudi Arabia keep production up until the election was over? This is a real sign of weakness around the world. Here's China, President Xi, going to Saudi Arabia, where America defends, even America defends their thoroughfare, the purchasing of their oil to make sure it's delivered. President Xi is now developing an axis of power with who? Putin, North Korea, and Iran, all individuals that want to expand their sphere of influence but hate America. We need a strength here, and this is where the president has failed time and again. He's showing weakness in every level. The number one thing he should do, make America energy independent. Why aren't we selling American natural gas to not only our allies, to our adversaries? Why don't we make China dependent upon us on our natural gas? It would make America economically stronger, more jobs here, and it would make our enemies dependent upon us. But instead, he makes us weaker and Saudi Arabia stronger.
Well, they seem to have a pretty growing relationship, China and Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.